2 weeks ago, the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury against Iran. Since then, the story has moved so fast, broken in so many directions simultaneously, and been covered so fragmentarily that most Americans have a collection of disconnected headlines rather than a coherent understanding of where this war stands, how it got here, and where it is going. This video is the complete Week 2 breakdown. Everything that happened in the second week of this war, assembled in one place, sourced, explained, and connected, so that by the end of this video, you have the full picture that 14 days of fragmented news coverage has not given you. I went through Al Jazeera's conflict tracker, CNN's Day 14 war summary, NPR's reporting, CBS News live updates, Time Magazine's casualty documentation, Britannica's conflict entry, Wikipedia's 2026 Iran war documentation, the Department of Energy's reserve release announcement, Treasury Department sanctions filings, and multiple expert analyses to give you the definitive Week 2 summary. Let's go through the major developments one by one. The single most significant military development of Week 2, announced in the final hours of the week, was Trump's order to strike Kharg Island. According to Trump's Truth Social post and reporting by Foreign Policy, U.S. Central Command executed what Trump described as one of the most powerful bombing raids in Middle East history, obliterating every military target on the island that handles roughly 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. Trump explicitly spared the oil infrastructure while threatening to destroy it if Iran does not reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This strike, held in reserve for the entire first week of the war, represents the most significant escalation of the conflict and sets up the defining decision of Week 3. Iran must now choose whether to comply with the ultimatum, escalate in response, or pursue the yuan-based partial reopening a senior Iranian official floated to CNN. The casualties mounted significantly through Week 2. According to Time Magazine's reporting confirmed by Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell, 13 American service members have died in the Iran war. Approximately 140 have been wounded, with 8 severely injured. The most recent deaths were the 6 crew members of a KC-135 refueling aircraft that crashed in western Iraq on Thursday, which the military confirmed was not due to hostile or friendly fire. 7 of the 13 deaths resulted from hostile Iranian fire. On the Iranian side, at least 1,444 civilians have been killed and 18,551 injured, according to Iran's health ministry, with victims ranging from 8 months to 88 years old, according to Al Jazeera's Day 14 report. Lebanon's death toll from Israeli strikes has reached 773, according to NPR, including 98 children. The military picture was dominated by Defense Secretary Hegseth's claim that Iran's missile volume is down 90% and drone volume down 95% from the beginning of the war. U.S. Central Command confirmed striking more than 6,000 targets inside Iran since operations began. At the same time, the Pentagon announced the deployment of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit aboard the USS Tripoli with approximately 2,500 Marines, destination and mission not yet specified. 3 senior officials confirmed to CNN that the unit is being sent to the region, bringing the total American military deployment to its highest level of the conflict. Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei issued his first formal statement declaring the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed and that attacks on American military bases would continue until U.S. forces withdraw from the region. The energy and economic story of Week 2 was dominated by 2 major government interventions that both failed to bring oil prices down meaningfully. The International Energy Agency coordinated a record 400 million barrel release from member nations' emergency reserves, with the United States contributing 172 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve starting next week over a 120-day delivery period. Despite this announcement, oil prices continued rising. Brent crude closed above $100 a barrel, up 41.5% since the war began. U.S. crude is up 47%. The second intervention was the Treasury Department's temporary lifting of sanctions on Russian oil currently at sea, authorized through April 11th. Oil prices did not respond meaningfully to this announcement either, with Jefferies economist Mohit Kumar noting that Russia was already selling to Asian buyers and the incremental supply impact was unclear. The diplomatic picture in Week 2 was almost entirely negative for prospects of a near-term resolution. Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi told NBC News that he did not believe negotiations with the United States would be on the table, citing a bitter experience of talks being underway when the U.S. attacked. Iran's Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf said Iran is certainly not seeking a ceasefire. Iran's President Pezeshkian outlined 3 conditions for ending the war: recognition of legitimate rights, reparations, and non-aggression guarantees, none of which the United States has shown any willingness to accept. A senior U.S. official told NPR that Israeli leaders increasingly believe the war will end unilaterally without a negotiated agreement. Trump told Fox Radio he will know the war is over when he feels it in his bones, prompting widespread concern about the absence of defined war termination criteria. The only potential diplomatic signal was the senior Iranian official who told CNN that Tehran might allow some tanker traffic through the strait if oil was traded in Chinese yuan, a proposal with enormous implications for the dollar's reserve currency status. The alliance dimension of Week 2 produced significant fractures. Trump's temporary lifting of Russian oil sanctions drew immediate condemnation from Ukraine, France, Germany, and European allies broadly. Zelensky said the move could give Russia $10 billion for its Ukraine war. Macron said the G7's position remains to maintain Russia sanctions. The United Kingdom simultaneously supported American operations while condemning what its foreign secretary described as Russia and Iran attempting to hijack the global economy. NATO allies are watching whether the Iran strike on a British RAF base in Cyprus triggers any Article 5 discussion. A French soldier was killed in a drone attack on a military base in Iraqi Kurdistan, bringing European nations into the casualty count for the first time. The humanitarian situation deteriorated further through Week 2. The United Nations Refugee Agency confirmed that up to 3.2 million Iranians have been displaced since the war began. UNESCO issued a statement of concern after historic sites, including Golestan Palace, were damaged. Iran's internet remained at approximately 4% of normal function. Reports emerged that prisoners at Evin prison were receiving limited food and water. In Lebanon, mass evacuation orders could push displacement above 1 million within days, according to an expert cited by CNN. Looking at Week 3, the defining questions are whether Iran responds to the Karg Island ultimatum with compliance, escalation, or the UN-based diplomatic opening, whether the Marine Expeditionary Unit is deployed in a combat or non-combat role, whether oil prices respond to the coercive pressure on Iran or continue rising, and whether any diplomatic backchannel through Oman, Qatar, or Chinese mediation produces movement toward talks. The war's trajectory is genuinely uncertain, and the next 72 hours following the Karg strikes will be among the most consequential of the entire conflict. Let's bring it together. Week 2 of the Iran war ended with Karg Island struck, 2,500 more Marines deploying, 13 Americans dead, oil at $100 and rising, Russian sanctions temporarily lifted over European objections, Iran's supreme leader reportedly wounded, Iran mulling UN-based strait reopening, and Trump saying the war has ammunition and plenty of time to continue. This is not a war winding down. This is a war entering its most consequential phase. Subscribe so you catch every development as it breaks. Drop a comment with the question about this war you most want answered next. I will see you in the next one.